Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, how are you doing today? Looks good. Yeah, surviving the rain. Great. So, just for those of you who I haven't met before, which I actually think is I've met most of you, but my name is Alicia McKenzie, and I'm one of the career services advisors here at the iSchool, and I work with Dean Kirkpatrick to do anything having to do with career development and professionalism. And if you have any questions after today's workshop on negotiations, you are more than welcome to come in for one-on-one advising or for drop-in advising to talk about any of your specific situations. We tend to get a lot of students that have their specific offers and don't quite know what to do with that, so you are more than welcome to come in beyond just this workshop. So today what we're going to be talking about is what you'll see behind me on the board, but first of all, why negotiate? So first thing I want to just make sure that you all know is that I think everybody should negotiate their salary no matter what. Your first offer is usually just an initial offer, and most organizations have some extra money or something that they can offer you to make their first offer a better offer for you. So I'll cover why you want to negotiate, when to negotiate, some things that you can do so you can prepare to negotiate, so how to arm yourself with information that will help you be more convincing when you go back to an organization and tell them that you would like to receive more compensation or something along those lines. I'll also talk about what not to do in a negotiation, so not only what to do, but also what you probably shouldn't do. And then finally, I'll end that with the what to do's. Also, feel free to stop me if you have any questions at any time. I am more than happy to answer those questions and try to make everything as clear as possible. First, so why negotiate? So like I said, I encourage everybody to negotiate because most organizations have something that they're able to and are willing to offer you beyond their first initial offer for you. I know a lot of students can have some fears around negotiation. These fears include like they'll take the offer away. That will not happen. And I'm going to say that in more of like 99% cases. Sometimes for very what I'll call not normal companies, they might consider taking that away, and I've never seen that happen. I just know that maybe one random one somewhere, somebody did something, and usually when they take the offer away, it's not because they asked for more money, more so because something happened to the business and they just can't afford to bring on a new person. So I want to reassure you that by asking for more money, more vacation, more signing bonus, stock, whatever it is you're asking for, 99% of the time that will not result in a offer being rescinded. Other common fears, students feel like they shouldn't be asking for anything, like they don't deserve more money or something else. And I want to say that by going to school and gaining all of the skills that you have here, I think everybody has infinite value and should absolutely still be asking for something beyond what you're first presented with. And it's not a matter of you not being deserving of that. It's more a matter of just seeing what the company is able to offer for you, because you do have so much that you can bring to an organization. So don't feel like you don't deserve it. You absolutely do deserve it. One thing that can be really helpful is to single out a business reason why you want to negotiate. So what that means is you want to leave out a little bit more of the personal. So you have a lot of student loans. Everybody has a lot of student loans. Most people do, I guess is the better way to say that. So student loans, mortgages, and you have a long commute. Those are the more personal aspects of it, and they could be a driving force, but those aren't reason enough for a company to offer you something in addition to what they've already offered you. So you want to focus your negotiation when you go into it more on the value that you bring to that organization. So for you, it will be the value that you bring because you have this. If you're a master's student, you have a master's degree. If you're an info student, because you're at one of the top universities in the nation. It could be that you worked in an internship before, so your experience is that you can bring knowledge, prior knowledge, that other students wouldn't be able to bring. So you want to focus on that business reason. You have amount of years of experience, you have a specific class, you have experience doing this in the meantime, you've won a lot of hackathons. Those are more along the lines of those business reasons for why an employer would value the work that you would be doing. Also, good to know, some companies do not do negotiations, and you'll find that out. So I always want you to ask, and then they can be willing to tell you, or they most often or not will just say, sorry, we can't negotiate with you. That's not something that we do. Usually that's for larger organizations that are making a blanket offer across everybody that they're bringing on. So they'll do a whole internship class, and they will not negotiate because they want to create an equal environment for everybody. And that's the way of putting in some equality for everybody. So definitely do some research. Dean and I know a lot of those organizations, so we can answer that information for you. Other things that people will say that they are not able to negotiate are big salaries. So sometimes they can't negotiate like what you would be making on a regular occurrence. What they can negotiate is if you want more time off. Sometimes that's an easier thing to get. If they started doing 2 weeks, ask for 3 weeks. Sometimes they can negotiate and give you opportunities to do some training and development work, so you can negotiate to go to a conference and have them pay for it for you. Sometimes you can negotiate having them pay for you to get an advanced degree. So if you're an info student and you want to get a master's degree, you can negotiate for them to potentially pay for that. Or you can also negotiate bonuses or stock as well. So know that sometimes they can't give you certain things, but usually there's other things that companies are able to give you. Another tip for you about when to negotiate. So you don't want to start off your negotiation in the interview process. You want to wait to have an offer first. So that's usually turns people off. And really don't have any supporting evidence for why that is. It just kind of is a known thing that companies will get very upset that you're asking about that information before you even have an offer at hand. So please wait until you have your offer before you start bringing up your salary. And another alternatively to that, you might also encounter recruiters that are going to start asking you about that before you've gone through the interview process. So there are a couple ways that you can get around that. You can let them know that you are more than happy to talk with them about that, but you'd like to save that conversation until you get an offer. So that's one thing you can ask them. If you have that question on an application, you can try to leave that field blank. If that doesn't work, enter in a space, and that usually is a character. So that will be just fine. You can have that space, and it will let you enter your application without adding a number. And sometimes you can even just add the $sign with no numbers or a period mark as well. And so that's how you can avoid it in an application. And other times they'll ask for a range, and sometimes it really forces you. So that means that in that case, you need to do some research, which I'll get to later in the presentation, and come up with a range. And you can use really broad ranges. So I definitely want to say that you can use broad ranges if you're scared about giving them a range that doesn't fit. And what I've found is a lot of times companies won't stick to you, so they won't stick to that range. And so it's okay if that range, when you first put it in, maybe a little lower than what you're actually looking for. You sometimes get forced into that. And then with conversation, when you're on the phone with a recruiter, sometimes they'll ask you. And another thing that you can say beyond asking to save that conversation for later, you can also just let them know that you would expect something that's market rate. So you're not having to give a number, you're just saying that it's market rate, and you would expect that based on research that you've done. And you can also say that you haven't had a chance to do research yet, so you aren't able to have that conversation fully right now, but you will hopefully be prepared by the end of the conversations to bring up that information. So those are some ways to kind of avoid that number at the beginning of your process. So I kind of went through this already, those 3 talking points. So I have them up here for you too, but I can also send out these slides after the fact to you. So be sure that you listen on the sign-in sheet so that I can send them out so that you'll have this to keep for your records for what I had been saying about what to say when people bring it up before you're ready for them to talk about negotiations. And so, yeah, moving on, how to prepare. So there are a number of ways that you can prepare for a negotiation. And, it's kind of cliche to say, but that phrase, knowledge is power, is really going to help you in this type of a situation when you're doing your research. So first, I always encourage people to take a look at what's being said out in the marketplace. And the marketplace for job information, as far as if people like where they're going to be, where you might be working, if people like the benefits, what the benefits are, what people are getting paid. A lot of that information you can find through self-report on Glassdoor. So I always encourage people to take a look at Glassdoor. First and foremost, there happens to be a student site there, so the link is listed here, but the student site lets you bypass their need for getting, a lot of times for people, they'll ask for information first before they give you information. So by using the student site, you bypass that and you don't have to enter in any reviews yourself. So I encourage you to do that. There's also two other sites that are commonly used called PayScale and Salary.com. And those are very reputable and are easy sites that you can pull up and offer and they can show you based on geographies that you can see what those people are making, or data science, data analytics. You can look at multiple. They also, I know in particular, PayScale has a comparison tool, so you can get multiple reports at the same time to see what people are being offered. And I would say that because you are a student, you're probably going to get closer to the lower end of that rate, lower to middle end than to the higher end. And I know a lot of people will immediately go to the high end and say, I need this high end. Remember that you are starting out, so there is a little bit of an element to that. So I would say a good place to start is at the middle. And then let them tell you that, oh, sorry, we can't offer you quite that high. This is what we can offer you. And so at least you're starting a little bit higher. You don't want to start too high. So that's why I say that kind of like middle range is a good place to start if you're at the point where they want to know numbers, and you can say, I found this on the market rate using a couple different websites, and this is what I feel is a good place to start for our conversation. Another thing that you can do as far as research is get to know what your budget's like. Take all the information about first your student loans, rent, and that also based on the city you want to live in, what are costs of living, so how much is it going to cost for you to have a cell phone and internet and electricity and garbage and water, sewer, garbage, all of those basic necessities that you're going to need to live. Maybe include some transportation information, do a little bit of budgeting for what your food is going to be like. Once you kind of know what it takes for you to live, then you can start there and try to ask for more money on top of that. And so that just gives you more power, so that you know if they end up giving you a number that's maybe a little lower than what you expected, but still quite a bit higher, and you can live on that, then at least you know that you're not compromising for too much in that way, that you work for a really great company, but you'll just have to work to potentially get more money later. And that's a side tip. A lot of times when you're going into negotiation, if they're not willing to talk with you, you can have them schedule a negotiation for you at the 6-month mark after they see that you're performing really well. So that's another way to get more money a little bit later, or whatever you are interested in getting. That's the way that you can do that if you aren't able to do it up front. So this is just an example of Glassdoor, what you would see on Glassdoor. I think, show of hands, how many people have been in Glassdoor? All right, most of you. Awesome. So yeah, you can just kind of take, you can go by company. So that's what this is showing, just to find out what kind of salaries they have in different areas. You can also search by job title as well. So you can do the search multiple ways to try and find a range, or see what people are saying is normal for people to be making for those different types of positions. So what is negotiable? I have been kind of listing all of this before, so just to reiterate, first and foremost, salary is typically negotiable. So what you will be making per year. Signing bonuses are often negotiable, so how much that they are willing to give you as an upfront cost. Also be aware of what is, I guess, the consequences are of taking that signing bonus, and by that I mean example would be that Amazon does do signing bonuses, but they require you to pay it back if you leave the company within 2 years. So after 2 years, I think sometimes it's 3 years, depends on who's negotiating, but
2 or 3 years, if you leave before that time frame, you have to pay that money back
plus interest. So
know what
kind of strings are attached by taking a signing bonus. Also know that signing bonuses can be in stock, and that means also stock options. A lot of companies, especially Microsoft and Amazon, will offer stock options for you.
A lot of times that's actually pretty lucrative, but again, know
what is a component of that, because stock options often
come with a schedule for when they vest.
And vesting means
that there's a specific amount of time before that stock is fully yours in your possession. So sometimes there's a schedule of like vesting over 3 years. So you say they offer you 100 shares of their stock. If you're vesting on a 3-year schedule, a lot of times you're getting a third of that 100, and then a third the next year, and then a third the next year. So if you leave before that, say you leave at the end of your second year, you only retain the 2/3 of the 100 stock that you have, and you don't receive the extra third that you had negotiated for at the beginning. So
know what that means. You can also negotiate for time off. So that can be vacation time. I know right now a lot of places are having unlimited vacation time. So I would make sure that
you'll know that that's something that the company has. And if they have that, then I would negotiate for something
else as opposed to time off, because you're going to get all the time off that you need.
Job titles, say they're hiring you for something, but it sounds like it requires a lot more,
a higher level of work than what you had expected. You can always negotiate for that higher title, which could help you in the long run
as you are looking at alternative jobs in the future, and that could springboard you into a higher level job, which ultimately could pay you more in the future. Job duties, sometimes you can negotiate for things that you don't want to do. You can say, okay, this is not something that I think belongs in this position. More often than not, though, you can add more to. It's a lot easier to argue for things that you want to add to your plate.
So that's something that you potentially do as well. Start date
negotiable. Say if you're an info student, you don't want to start until October because you like to take summer
to work in between your graduation and when you start your degree. You can always ask for that. Flexible schedules are also something you can try to negotiate for. So if your company doesn't have a telework policy, maybe you can ask for some telework. That's something you'd like.
And then finally, training and development are options as well.
So there's a whole menu of things that you could ask for, even if you don't get the money that you're looking for at the beginning. So keep that in mind.
Things that are not usually negotiable, that would be the healthcare plan. Healthcare plans are pretty
solid as far as what they're able to offer you. Pension and 401k
plans, so how much money they're willing to put into your pension or into your 401k for retirement, that's usually standard.
Profit sharing, if the company
has a profit sharing program, you can't really argue for more money. They do that fairly standard across all of their employees. Performance bonuses usually are all set. So at the end of the year, you might make 20%, probably less. That's a really high figure. But that's something that is not typically on the board for negotiations. And sometimes I think tuition reimbursement here, I have it in the non-negotiables. Sometimes I think you can negotiate for a little bit more. It just depends on the company.
What I would say for that is it's usually a company that's
more flexible or more innovative. They're going to be more likely to let you
negotiate for that. Companies say like Boeing, they're not going to let you negotiate for that. So more established, probably not going to be able to do that. So know what's important for you. Is it work-life balance? Is it important for you to negotiate for that flex time and that time off? Or maybe it's the money right now. You know you have a lot of student loans, but you don't tell them that. You just know that that's for you. That's important. So then you would want to try to get a signing bonus or try to get more salary. So it's important to know that. And then the final tip on this for how to prepare is to practice. So family, friends, me, team. There are many people here who are in your lives that would be more than happy to help you. So definitely take a minute to practice and know what you'd like to say before you go into a negotiation conversation. And also know, usually these conversations occur via phone. More often than not, it's not in person. And sometimes you can do it via email, but usually it's over the phone. So I know that can be a little nerve-wracking for people.
But just know that over the phone is what commonly happens. So I would suggest practicing that if you're going to get nervous about having to do that and speaking about it over the phone. So what not to do? The first one is something that we talk about all the time, and that's to do not accept an offer and continue interviewing. And that's something that we encounter every year. There are students that will accept an offer, and then they'll do what's called renege, which means that they will accept it, and then they will keep interviewing, and they will end up accepting an alternate offer. And so what that does is it puts a really bad light on the iSchool, because typically that company has already planned that person to have fill a role that they really need for their organization. And then it could be like the end of the year, and then they don't have time to rehire that. So not only has that student tarnished the reputation of the iSchool, but that student has also taken away another spot for a student that might actually want that job as well. And so it's really important that if you accept an offer, as soon as you do that, you no longer interview. You don't want to patronize the negotiators, so you want to make sure that when you are speaking with them, that you are being clear about what your intentions are and what you want out of that relationship. And I would expect the same thing from them. So it's mutual, and you want to make sure that you're positive and having a strong interaction with them. You also don't want to come off as greedy. So here the example is, I will leave the offer if I don't get $80,000 for this position. Like, you don't want to use these categorical statements, because it can be a hard place for the company to offer you more if they're just unable to do that. You don't want to assume that they are absolutely able to meet something that they might not be able to meet. So then it just makes the whole process go sour. And one thing to know is that Seattle, if you're looking here in Seattle for jobs, it's a really small town. A lot of the recruiters know each other, and they talk. And I've been the person who was the recruiter who has talked to other people that are in recruiting and been like, oh yeah, I know that student. Or, oh yeah, like, I know that candidate. We worked with them. They were horrible. So it's happened. So just one thing to know is that it's a small town, so you always want to leave your experiences in the recruiting world on a high note as much as possible. You don't want to make false statements where you would say, I would accept this position if you can pay me $10,000 more, and then they offer you that, and then you don't accept, because you're basically lying to them. And you don't want to be doing that. So try not to make those statements. And try not to push for more money and tell you they're unable to offer you money. Usually what they're telling you is true. They cannot offer you more money for one reason or another. So just try to remember that as you go through your processes. And the final one, which is accept the offer on the spot, which is kind of what I was saying in the beginning, is you always want to try to ask for something. Hopefully you get something, and like I said, it could be more vacation time, or it could be an evaluation at 6 months for a potential promotion or a potential increase in salary. So you want to try to get at least something from who you are speaking with. What to do, other things to do, stall. So that's something that you are able to do if you're waiting for more offers, or if you're trying to get more time to research. You are always more than welcome to ask them for more time. The more time you can get, the better. So know that they're accustomed to that. The recruiters might be pushing you for a quicker time frame, but it is within your right to try and ask for more time. So feel free to do that. And finally, show your appreciation. That's something that people kind of forget about when you're in this process, is that you should definitely say thank you. They want to know that you want to work for the company. So I usually tell students to try to include information like, I'm really excited to be joining your organization. I'm so looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to talking with you, and hopefully we can come to an agreement so that I can join your team. Something like that can be really helpful. So I definitely think the more that you can show your appreciation, the better of a process this will end up being for you. So how to ask for more time. One thing you can do is ask for if they can send you the full compensation package so you can understand the full offer. So that means, how much does it cost for you to have health insurance with that? How much does it cost for transportation? What is the full payment they're going to pay on your behalf for insurance, like life insurance, things like that. So you're within your right to ask for all of that information so you can fully evaluate that offer. And a lot of times that will give you the chance to,
one, do some research, but also it gives you that later time frame so that if you have more offers coming in, you'll have an extra boost of time. You can also let them know that you are waiting on more offers. I know a lot of students get really scared about that, but I think it's really helpful for the recruiter to know that they're going to have some competition. And a lot of times that really what it ends up doing is benefiting you as the person that is negotiating, because then they know that they have to compete and they have to show you the best offer possible. So a lot of times that gives you a little bit more leverage. So feel free to share that information. And a lot of them will want to know that because it's harder to get you as an employee if you don't know what you're up against. So always encourage people to share that information. And then just so you guys know, we do have some offer deadlines that we have as part of our iSchool policy that we encourage companies to use. And I believe this year, I think these are accurate, but this year it is November 30th is when we're asking companies to be able to give you that much time so you can keep looking for offers. So we ask them to allow you up until November 30th to give an answer for the offer. In winter quarter, February 15th, and then in spring quarter, April 15th. Now, if you're after these time frames, then it's really up to the company. And also remember, these are guidelines. So a lot of times companies will ask you for answers sooner than that. And the best thing that you can do is ask for more time. And then you can always show them that, oh, the university has this time frame. I was hoping that you would honor it. But sometimes they can't and they won't. And that's not something that we can enforce as the university. It's just something that we encourage them to do. Yes.
So what if the offer deadline is before the iSchool employer policy guidelines? I mean, let's say, for example, fall quarter offer deadline is November 30th.
Yeah.
So, and what if we have an offer after the deadline before the 30th of November?
Yeah, so then you would just ask them, would you be willing to honor this offer deadline that the university has encouraged people to use? You just ask them to do that. And like I said, sometimes they can't do that and they won't do it. So it's a guideline. So that's as much leverage as you have, and then you just know that you have to meet whatever they are requiring you to meet. Did you have a question, Allison?
Just what do you think is actually, if it's not a structured university program, right? What do you think is a reasonable amount of time to ask them? Like 2 weeks?
I would say it depends on what time of quarter you're getting that offer. So say that you're looking in winter quarter and they offer you on like January 10th. And you know that you still want to be looking for more offers and it's outside of the university, so they're not coming here physically to campus. I would ask for a month if you know that you're going to be looking, sometimes even a month and a half spring break as well. So it's okay to ask for more than 2 weeks. Outside of university recruiting, what I'll call in the real world, usually 2 weeks is very long. You're absolutely right. So they're going to give you less time than that. This just happens to be one really unique time hiring wise that you can push for more timing. You just want to let them know, I want to evaluate all of the offers that I'm able to get. I'm in the process of interviewing for a couple of places, so I was hoping you would honor this. I know that you can go through online or like go through in-person recruiting at the university, but here are some things that they encourage people who come to the university to do. They might say no. They might say you still have 2 weeks, or you still have hopefully they're not doing anything quicker, or they aren't doing any what's called an exploding offer, where they offer it to you and they say the offer expires after X amount of time. That's against our policy, but if it's outside of the university, we can't really do anything to enforce that. But if it is within the policy, if they are coming to the university and they did on-campus recruiting and they offer you an exploding offer, we can't go back to them and say that this would prohibit their ability to come back again. So it's tough if it's not already here on campus, but if it is, then we have a little bit more leeway to try and help in that process. I have one more question. Did you have one?
I was going to ask about the companies that do on campus.
Oh, perfect. Great. So those are kind of the basic guidelines around timing. If you have more specific questions related to your specific situation, feel free to contact me or team. We're happy to provide more information. So what if you're waiting for another offer? So company A gives you an offer, but you're still waiting on company B. Like I said, most employers are expecting students to be interviewing at more than one company, so it's okay to let them know that you're waiting for multiple offers. So that's what we would be step one, is letting them know that
Be as transparent as possible. Also trying to make sure that you're doing that as soon as possible. So you don't want to be drawing them out. You want to let them know ASAP so that they understand and are able to plan for their own timelines, because they do have deadlines that they have to meet. And that's super important for them. So as long as you're being communicative, I think the company will be a lot more amenable to working with you and being flexible on your timelines. So you're more than welcome to let them know that and then ask for specific dates. I also think the more that you're able to give them specific dates on, I should be able to give you an answer by this date or in 2 weeks amount of time, I think that's more helpful than being like, can I just have more time? That's just not quite as helpful for them. So the more that you can try to give them specifics, the better it will be. So also, this particular example is one that you can use, and we like to give you some working examples. One thing I didn't talk about is showing your appreciation. So again, what I had talked about before, make sure that you're saying thank you for the offer and that you're really excited about it. So that will make that whole asking for more time a lot easier for you. So here's an example. I'll just read it really quickly. And like I said, I'll distribute the slides so that you have it. You can use that if you need to. So thank you so much for the opportunity to work as a UX designer on your team. I'm really excited for the chance to, and then take some pieces from the job description to talk about like what you're excited to do in that role. Before making a final commitment, I wanted to let you know that I'm in the process of interviewing at another company. While I am very appreciative of this offer, I want to make sure I am making a fully educated decision between the two companies. I've reached out to the other company to ask if they can speed up their interview process and expect that I should be able to make a final decision by, like I was saying, a specific date. If the other company gives you a specific date, add 1 to 2 days to be safe, because you never know, companies can miss those deadlines. So give yourself a cushion. And like I was saying before, depending on the timing, you can always use the dates from the high school guidelines as well. So what to do when you get your offer? So this is super exciting. Always super excited when I hear about people having an offer. So what you want to do is, if you haven't already, make sure you've done your research on the company and your research on what a typical salary is for the job that you are applying for or that you are applying for and have been offered. Then I'm not exactly sure what multiple the salary by about 80% for Seattle means. Dean made the slide, so I'm sorry. I don't know what that means. But one thing to know is that the cost of living in Seattle is pretty high, so that could be alluding to making sure that you understand where it is that you're being offered. So say that you are offered a position at a company in say Chicago, Illinois, understand that your offer of $60,000 might not be that much in the Seattle market, but it can be quite a lot for the Chicago market. So I would say just make sure that you understand what the salaries are like in the geography that you are applying to, because that can be quite different. Take a look at your PTO so you know what that is. If you want to ask for more, that's something to note. Know what your medical benefits and insurance are, because a lot of times that can be really expensive. So if they're not paying for your medical insurance at all, then you might want to ask for more money to cover that. But if they are paying for your medical insurance, then you know that if they can't increase your salary, at least they're paying and usually a considerable amount of money on your behalf so that you have medical insurance. So something to note. Note what the savings accounts are, that's for retirement, because sometimes they can be contributing up to a certain percentage on your behalf. And a lot of times that might not be money you're able to access now, but that's money you're able to access later. And that's part of your full total compensation. And then again, signing bonuses, stock options, and then if there are any other perks like going to the gym, childcare, dog care, parking, internet, software. There's a whole list of those right now, depending upon what kind of organization you're working for. And then finally, think about what your worth is and think about what value is that you can bring. So something that you can say, here's an example, when you get back to the company is, I've done my research on Glassdoor and see that this company generally pays $55,000 to $65,000 for this position to recent college graduates. I think that the scale, or that the value I will bring to this company warrants a salary on the higher end of the scale. And usually what the value that you bring would be is if you've done multiple internships, if you've taken a lot of classes in the specific area, if you've had multiple jobs before, so you know how to work in a professional space. Those are what the value is that you would bring, and that's why you would be able to ask for the higher end of the scale. So what if they don't budge? Make sure you know what else is important to you. So again, as I was saying, everything that's negotiable, know what you would want to have negotiations about. Also remember, some firms can't adjust their salary, so knowing what else you would want is very helpful so you can still ask for something. And here's an alternative proposal for you. I understand times are tough and there is no flexibility in the salary right now. If we can make one agreement, I think we can find a good fit here. If I do an extraordinary job for 6 months, could we revisit the salary? So that's how you can delay it and ask for that more money later down the line. The one thing you want to do with that, though, is make sure that you are being a rockstar employee, because it's not going to help you if you don't provide a case for them to give you more money at that 6-month mark. So if that's the case, then you want to make sure that you're doing a good enough job to get more money after that. So that's just something to keep in mind. And remember not to overpromise with that. So sometimes they'll ask that you commit to certain things. You want to make it realistic. So it's okay to, that's another negotiation you can make and say, like, here are some things that I should have done that would be accurate, or something that I think I would be able to do. But don't overpromise, because then you might not get the extra money that you want originally. So that's it. That's all I have for you today. What other questions can I help you guys with? Yes.
We negotiate in internship offers, just not full-time offers.
Internship offers. Sometimes you can negotiate, but those tend to be the ones that you are not able to negotiate as much. A lot of times what the company does is they bring everybody in as a student at a standard rate, and they're not open to that because the negotiation happens when they offer you a full-time job. And also because there's a lot for the company, that it's not guaranteed that they're going to be hiring you in the future. It's not guaranteed that they can hire you in the future. Or alternatively, it's not guaranteed that you will accept them in the future, so they're not going to be quite as open to negotiating right then, because there's too many variables for that in the long run. So that's why a lot of times you won't see negotiation opportunity for internships.
So is it advisable to try negotiating or just, accept it?
I would say that, so I said at the beginning, you always want to negotiate. I would say that usually applies to full-time and not as much to internships. So I would say that if you are looking at a company that's giving you like a really low figure and they're more of a startup and not a large company, I would negotiate. But if they're a large company, I wouldn't negotiate, because usually it's standard. Like Microsoft has standard, Amazon has standards, I think Alaska has standard, Starbucks has standard. So those are the ones that their internships are probably not going to result in negotiations in your favor, if at all. Yeah.
So I used to work for a state agency.
Yeah.
And in some ways the salary had been not less negotiable, because if there was a title, there was a particular pay scale that covered that.
Yes.
But each pay scale had steps, and they would offer you like the lowest steps starting out, and some people were able to negotiate starting out on a higher step of the salary range.
Yes.
Some people
Yes, that's important to know that governmental agencies are fairly standard, like you were saying, with their pay bands, but that means that it's a band. And so that they're able to bump you up a little bit. Usually it's not like thousands of dollars. It's probably closer to like a couple hundred between each step. But at least if you start out higher on that band, then you have the ability to increase that quicker, as opposed to starting out in step A and then you have 10 steps to go and you only get a bump a step, or as a bump a year. So that's great. Thank you for sharing. Anything else? It's okay if you don't. Awesome. Thank you for joining me today. I know it was really rainy and kind of gross out there. And feel free to take more food. I know we have a lot more that's out there. But yeah, feel free to stop by if you have more questions. Thank you.